What's going on, man? Welcome to the Midnight Society Show. I am your host, Mike Cardenas. I'm here joined with my co-host tonight, Robert, aka Goggles. We got Lee, and we have our special guest this evening. Please help me show some love and drop some love for this video for this individual. We have Michelle Roos. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Yeah.
How are you guys tonight?
Oh, we're amazing, man. Even better that you're here with us this evening.
Nice.
Doing great.
I'm really excited.
All right. So before we start the show, for everybody who's watching, and for those who are new to the stream, new to the live video, whenever you hear me say Midnight Watcher, I want all the new people to know that whenever someone new comes to the page, our loyal supporters and our followers, we call them Midnight Watchers because we want people to come to our page and feel like they're at home with us. That's a little nickname we have for them. So every time you hear me say Midnight Watcher, whether you're new or you've been here for a long time, you're officially a Midnight Watcher. And make sure to drop a like, drop some love, click follow for all MPS related content coming up. But if you can, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you can, share out this video, please. We would definitely appreciate that. All right, let me share this out really quickly, guys. Where's it at? Where are you at? 1 second. Copy link. Okay, here's the link. All right, Midnight Watchers, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure if you have any questions throughout the show for Michelle, make sure to drop any questions you have. We welcome all questions. Just make sure if you have a question for any of us MPS members or for Michelle, put the name of the person who you want to ask a question to in the comments, and we'll make sure to get that question asked. So, Michelle, for all the Midnight Watchers who are tuning in right now, if you can please let everybody know, how did you get into the paranormal? You know, everybody has a different journey they took coming into the field. What occurred in that moment that just say, you know what, this is what I want to do? What happened to you, or did you have an experience? Share with the Midnight Watchers, please.
Well, let's say mine started as a child. I actually have abilities. And as a child, I kept seeing things and kept thinking they were nightmares. It got to the point where I had a hard time actually, functioning because I didn't know what was real and what wasn't. I kept, kind of hiding it, pushing it back. And I met with a really good friend of mine. We started hanging out, and Kelly, shout out to Kelly, whoop, whoop. And, really started seeing, I need to do something. We've always helped people in different areas. We help with the military, we help with a lot of people. And it was kind of like, there's got to be a different way of helping people. And it got to the point where my abilities were like, okay, we're not staying shut down anymore. It's time to wake up. And so we put together Riverside, Iowa Paranormal. We started pretty small here in Iowa, but now we have chapters all over the place. And we just don't do events, but we still help a lot of people in need. So there's not a lot of us out there anymore that are helping families in need.
Right.
So we kind of just started there, and from there it's just been exploding. And then we started doing more work with the Warren Legacy Foundation, and I became the director of North America. So handling all of North America for the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research.
Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. So did you ever get a chance to actually work with the Warrens themselves?
No, I actually work side by side with their grandson.
Oh, nice. That's amazing. So have you been into the museum they had with all the objects they had?
No. So a lot of people, which I didn't realize, and Chris had told us, the museum was never open to the public. It never has been, because they do keep that stuff stored away. But there was certain times of the year they would put a little event together and give some people some tours, but it's never been actually opened where people just randomly off the street can come and check it out.
Right, right.
Do you know
Wow.
Tony Spera?
I've never met him personally, but I do know him. I know of him and stuff like that. I do a lot of work with Chris, who's the grandson. So we actually, I believe I seen Kenneth Torres on here on the comments. He's also part of the Warren Legacy Foundation, but he also runs the California chapter for Riverside, Iowa Paranormal.
Right. Wow,
So
that's amazing. That's interesting. So, come into the field before you came into the actual paranormal. What was your mindset like? What did what went through your mind when you made that decision to come in? Did you have an idea of what you think it would be versus now that you're here? Were you completely wrong? I mean, how was that? How was that for
I
you?
didn't know where I was going. Kind of talk a little bit on the spiritual side. I was getting the calling and I
Right,
was supposed to do something, but I didn't know which path to go yet.
right,
And I was trying to just keep it hidden still and just do, investigations. But the more it started opening up and more, like I said, as a child, trying to tell people what you're seeing and who you're talking to and what's going on,
right,
um, it was kind of hard because people, automatically are thinking, wait a minute, are you telling tall tales?
right,
And so to the point where you just kind of shut yourself down. And then I started trying to just live life and thinking, this is what I need to do. But it was always nagging at me because I knew I was supposed
right.
to do something more.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And so, I tell people whenever we come to, when someone new comes into the field or even seasoned people, I always tell people that there's that moment where you question, should I really be doing this? And did you ever have that moment, whether it was in an investigation or just a moment where you just kind of say, you know what, should I really be doing this or not? Did you ever have that kind of moment?
I have it all the time and I still do. And I think if any investigator out there says they don't have that moment,
Right,
then they're really not true in the field
right,
because it's not just being in the field. We think about it as the paranormal community and we're in the field, but there's more to it.
right,
And I know, Mike, we've talked about it once before. We do it because we're doing it to help people.
right,
We're helping those people have a voice of, no, you're not crazy. This could be something.
right,
And, even though TV has made it, to be cool, there's still things left out. There's still that little bit of taboo behind this whole paranormal,
right,
and for like myself, it's kind of one of those, what I see and how to explain it and helping those people understand what's going on.
right.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I tell people all the time, I was like, when I first came into the field myself, everybody has different experiences coming into the field. Some have this like smooth experience, and me when I
Yeah.
first came in, it was a little rough. I think my first thing, like you always see people say, try linking up with teams, try linking up with this person, try reading these books, do research. And when I first came in, I tried linking up with other teams and stuff, and I got shot down left and right, so it was a little rough for me at first.
Yeah.
But I tell people, if you want to come to the field, really question and talk to yourself. What's the reason for coming to the field? Was it an experience you had? What was the true intent behind it? Because
Mhm.
there's people in this field who come in and they may see a TV show for whatever reason,
Yep.
like a movie or whatever, and they think that it's like that, and it's not, and they're like, oh, it's boring, or they come in and they bite off more than they can chew, and then they get hurt. So you gotta be very careful when coming to the show. Don't ever take it lightly.
Michelle, um, do you still get when you go on investigations, do you still get like when you first started? I'm sure there's things that scared you, and now since you've been doing this for a while, do you still feel the same, or is it like easier to deal with now?
Actually, I got to say, I still get scared at times, even if it's my own shadow.
Yeah,
Because it's
I'm the
happened,
same
I
way.
promise. I
Like
promise. You know,
I'm
when
not
you
afraid.
hone in on something and then something comes across, yeah,
Yeah,
especially in residentials. And I still get very nervous in those because I'm not, you know, you're not just going in for the investigation. You don't know what you're walking into. What is that dynamic of the family? How much
yeah,
stress are they under? Is there any type of mental issues going on? You know, so you're always trying to figure out. So I stay on high alert, you know, and sometimes I'm wondering, you know, if a lot of people say, well, I'm not scared anymore, then I don't think you should be in this field, you know,
yeah. That's
because you
crazy.
should be scared
That can be
because you don't know
dangerous.
what's behind it.
You know, like I think of that as kind of like on the field as a police officer because you always got to be alert. You always got like when you're scared or on edge, you're more alert. You're looking around more. You know, if you
Yeah.
go in there with just like whatever, then you can get yourself killed or hurt. I
Yep.
believe that's the
That's
same
true.
principle for the paranormal. You know?
Well, and I'm also a demonologist, and
Oh
I
wow.
also am the first woman who's been on the Worldwide Society of Exorcists. So I go in and do a lot of dark stuff. And even though they're negative entities, not everything's demons. I want to make sure
Right,
people know
right,
that.
Yes, ma'am.
But a negative entity can be worse than a demon because it
right,
can manipulate, it can shift the way it shows itself. So you have to be on guard.
right,
Just a little background on me. So I'm a psychic medium and trans medium. Okay. But when I see something, I don't see it in the beautiful little white light or the little boy with suspenders. If that little boy in suspenders died because he drowned in the river, I'm going to see him the moment he drowned when they took his body out. I see him on that start, you know. So I actually see him at that moment and it's like a nightmare. So, but I can also tell in a place if there's a lot of negative energy there or entities because I see them kind of in their true forms, which a lot of people, you know, to me, they kind of look, it looks alien like if you know, and so that's why I'm always a little scared because I have to see that, you know, I see it that way.
right, right. And kind of adding to what you were saying about, not everything's demons. There's times where, here's the thing about the paranormal field, right? Imagine it being like, it's a global thing, right? It's a global thing.
Hmm.
But you have that small time field because it's like everyone knows your name kind of thing. Like, the word gets around so fast. And even for the people who are enthusiasts, whenever you see people post stuff, you always see, oh, it's a demon, it's demonic, and and I'm like, it's not always demonic. Like, we had a case one time here in
because of
San
pop
Antonio,
culture.
right? We had a case one time, and this thing appeared to us, or to my sister, and she saw this figure come out, and it was showing itself as it was this dark figure that had these horns and, like, whatever. And they come to find out that it really wasn't. It was mimicking that, but
Yep.
it was a man who killed his family, his wife, because she was threatening to leave him, to divorce him. And he said, if I can't have you, nobody else will. And he killed his whole family and himself. And so, sometimes you have these spirits who may portray that, but it's not really that. So you gotta be, and that's the thing, though. When you come into the field, you got to understand that there's good stuff, but there's also dark stuff. And if you're not prepared for it, and you're going thinking that, oh, it's a physical thing that you can just put your hand on and stop, it doesn't work that way. You gotta be very, very careful.
And adding,
Tread very lightly.
and I don't know if you could hear me. I want to add to that actually, because we had
Go
a
ahead.
conversation like this before a few days ago. It's like I told someone it's not just angels and demons. That's just one factor. It's like saying it's like meeting someone, and animals that exist are dogs, cats, pet goldfish, and birds because that's what we interact with the most. But as you all know, there's way more animals out there, different species and stuff like that. It's the same thing with spirits. There's like
Yep.
yokai. There's all kinds of spirits out there. You know what you're dealing with. We're just dealing with the ones that are most common to us. So that's stuff we're used to.
I'm going to do a quick shout out to
Yeah,
everybody
no,
that's
go
saying
ahead, go
hello
ahead.
to me. I'm Kenneth. Oh, Ashley, baby doll, Ingrid, Kina. Thank you guys for joining us and showing your love. I am loving you guys. And thank you for the support. I appreciate it. And going back on, like you said, the spirits, we talk about a lot of things with possession and things like that. A lot of people, don't understand if you got a very negative entity that would try to mimic anything,
Right,
they can actually jump you and actually look like there's a possession because
right,
they jump in and out. And that is something that, some people, get nervous about. And they're like, it's a demon, I'm possessed. But in actuality, it could be something so negative, like the one you were just talking about. And if it mimics something, it's going to mimic something that you're really terrified about because it feeds off your fear.
right.
So, they want to make sure
It
they
takes
do
advantage
that.
of you.
Yeah. And that's how they do it. And, or if they're trying to, just like the story about the Sally house,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
said it was a little girl, but the whole time it was this mean, like hex lady that wanted to get her to love and trust her to welcome her in because that's what
Right,
they need. They need you to welcome,
right,
just like
right.
every scary movie.
Definitely, definitely. And yeah, that Sally House case from back in the day, that to me, I really like that. When they first aired it on sightings. And so let me ask you this: how many total years have you been into the paranormal? You said,
Into it?
or not into it, but
Ooh.
you've been a part of the field.
My gosh. I'm gonna say over 10 years without giving my
Over 10
age.
years. So think about this. Think about this. Imagine at one time, talking about the paranormal, and I know we talk about this all the time with different people, but imagine how the mindset was back then. Where you couldn't really talk about this, and now it's like because of so many of these TV shows that are out, and yes, people become more open minded, but sometimes these TV shows kind of mislead people. They
Yeah,
don't really show the
they
entirety.
commercialize it too much.
Yeah, they did, because like for example, I'm not gonna get into the politics of those shows or anything, but like Ghost Adventures, when I first saw that show for the very first time, I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool show. But then you start seeing, people see this and they don't understand it's just face value. There's nothing against the show or anybody like that, but they don't show the entirety of it. I'm like, man, people need to see. I wish people can. I wish there was a show or program where besides what we do on Facebook and the field of work, but where they showed everything because there's so much more that goes onto this. Like for example, the people on my team, who do have abilities and stuff, you don't see on these shows where how sick these people get, how we all get sick. Like I don't claim to have any abilities or anything, but I mean, there's been times where I wake up in the morning and the room is spinning. You're
Yeah.
like you feel so drained, so tired, and you're like, man, but you get up and you keep going. You don't let that deter you from wanting to help people.
It's like
So
it beats
I
your
wish
body
they
up.
felt that.
Yeah. Well,
Because
and
I
that's the thing. I mean, you're not just dealing when you're working with clients, you're not just dealing with the spirit in the home.
Right.
You're dealing with all their emotions and all their
Exactly.
energy. So you're getting it from both sides. And a lot of people don't understand that piece, And it's kind of one of those you have to kind of work and figure out what are you dealing with? Which one is the worst. So, but people also got to understand when you have good, you're going to have bad. There's considered a balance. And so you've got to make
Right.
sure, you understand that. Everybody goes, oh, I have a spirit in my house and we gave him a name and his name's George and he's
Right.
okay. Then to find out George was something even worse than that. So it's really, you're trying to educate those people at the same time. So hi,
Right.
Tiffany.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely agree. And we had a case back in, I want to say 2018. We had a case where it was a young woman, and here's one thing that I do with every client that I have, right? Uh, I always tell my clients, be very open and honest with me, be transparent as possible because, when we come to a case, we're going off what you're telling us. And I tell people, if you were drinking, if you're on drugs, like, be honest with me, because I'm gonna find out regardless. But just be honest with me, because it helps, me not have to go through all the trouble trying to find out. Just be honest with me. And we had a case where the client, we weren't informed that she had been drinking, not a lot, but just a little bit before we got there, because she was so on edge because of all the things that were happening in her apartment. And mind you, these were college students. And so, we get there. I'm live on Facebook. I'm doing my whole intro to let my viewers know what's going on. And all of a sudden, I hear what sounds like a little boy laughing. And I'm like, what the hell is that sound? There's no little kids here. It's all, young ladies who live in this apartment. And I hand the phone over to my investigator. I say, here, hold it. I'll be right back. So I go to check it out, see where the voice is coming from. When I get to the room, I'm gonna tell you something. I saw something that I've never seen before in all my investigations. This young lady, she collapsed and she was on the floor. And like, when you're hyperventilating, your muscles contract and things happen. But the one thing that happened that I've never seen before, my case manager and we had invited two cleansers from another team because my cleanser was out of town doing a cleansing for us. So we had these backup cleansers helping us. The three ladies, whenever we go into a case, whenever there's a woman involved, like, men or women, we respectfully, I don't allow the men in my team to touch women clients. I just don't do that. So I had the ladies were assisting her, and the three ladies grabbed her from the arms to help her up. And when they picked her up, she stayed sitting Indian style. But imagine like they have her up in the air, and she's so Indian style. And I was like, what the hell? And when this happens, something happens I've never seen in my entire time investigating. Imagine her sitting Indian style, right? So her legs are crossed.
Yeah.
It looked like something came from behind and pulled her legs from underneath and were twisting her legs like backward. And it looked like her knees were gonna pop out. Like, it looked weird. I've never seen that before.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, look what's happening. And you see her legs twisting inward, like they're already like this. And it looked like someone grabbed her from her ankles and pulled her legs this way. And so it looked like her knees were just twisting weird. And I said, let's get her outside. And because she had this balcony door open, I was afraid that she was gonna run and throw a dive for the balcony. So we're taking her outside. When we got to the front door of the threshold of her door, something happens. She puts her 2 feet down and she says, I'm not going anywhere. And all of a sudden, she turned on us. Like, not like she didn't, bite us or do anything crazy, but she put her hands like this and none of us can move her. And I mean, it got so bad that the police got involved because there was, this is a college, not a campus, but it's an apartment complex for, college students. And people were crying, freaking out because they see that, she's just, all over the place. And I tell people, in those moments, you gotta be on your toes. You gotta be prepared because we at least expect things. And if you're not careful and you're not prepared, I mean, you're going to hurt yourself and you're going to hurt your client. You know what I mean? And you got to be prepared for anything that happens. And when the police got there, they were like, what do you want us to do? What can we do for you? And, they said, do you want to press charges? Because she had, she almost broke my case manager's arm. And I said, no, I'm not going to press charges. And the cops left. They took off. They couldn't do nothing for her. So, I mean, people don't realize the things we go through to make sure other people, can get over this situation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you got to be very, very careful. I mean, you got to think about all these things because until you experience it, you're never going to know how things can hit the fan and go from 0 to 60 that fast.
Yeah.
And so how did you get into the whole demonology? Like, what went through your mind that you're like, I want to be a demonologist?
Well, because of my abilities.
Right.
I was seeing the bad side of things. And so I wanted to get involved in understanding and knowing how to, handle those situations.
Right.
And so I wanted to educate myself. And the more I got involved, I noticed, Everybody thinks demonology, exorcists, everything's demons. But then
Right.
as I was getting more involved with it and working with a couple of the priests, we've had numerous conversations of different things. And that's where, like my thought is, you have negative entities that can jump you and mimic a possession. But then,
Right.
we also talked about different ways of doing things because soon as people start talking about possessions and stuff, we automatically go straight to mental health
Right.
and we start giving all sorts of different types of drugs. Well, if they are fighting and they're opening up and channeling these type of entities, we're masking them so they can't fight it. So
Right.
now we're getting like full on type of possessions going on that are not possessions. So you can't command something out when it's just jumping in and out or channeling through someone, because now we've given them, some drugs that open them up like a lighthouse. So, trying to look at a different version of how we do exorcisms,
Right.
not, we can't always command something out. That person who's having that trouble has to be strong enough, both mentally and spiritually to help
Right.
evict it. They got to be able to evict it and not allow it to come back in.
Right.
So it's becoming a crusade for me of, how we look at this kind of stuff. It's
Right.
not just we bring in the whole, Catholic Church or anything. So, that's kind of what. So I kind of go different ways of, how are you going to command something away when the person is invited it in?
Right.
You've got to be able to have that two-way. So working with those people to make them stronger to help get rid of it while you're trying to command it out, they're evicting at the same time, because now you're not, putting harm on that person, whether it's physical or more mental trauma.
Yeah,
I have a
definitely. Go ahead, Lee. You're muted, Lee.
sorry. Say for example, I'm not talking away. Say for
No, go
example,
ahead.
say for example, one day I said to myself, you know what? I want to become a demonologist. What would I have to do? What type of training would I have to take? Or
Actually, you actually take classes in psychology. You take just different courses, so it's not all about demons and stuff. You also do classes for the biblical side and different things like that. Um, I'm going to tell you, probably about 99% is psychological, but because it's psychological, it opens them up as a beacon. So you're
let me,
getting two parts, if that makes any sense.
yeah,
Right.
I understand. Let me ask you
So,
this.
mhm,
I have a lot of experience in mental health.
yeah.
I actually used to be a mental health technician at one time, and I have a crisis intervention training, 40 hours. And next, I want to get certified as a mental health officer, which is another 40 hours. Will that help me? If I
Oh,
was
yeah.
to say,
Yes, it does.
I
Because you got to
appreciate it.
remember, when these people are coming to you and you're thinking about it and they're talking about, they think they're possessed, because that is where our minds will automatically go to that. Or they start thinking they're going crazy because they cannot know exactly what's going on. So, you're having to work on that level, so being a psychologist or anything of the knowledge of that helps you determine how are you going to take this case on? How are you going to work it? Do you work with that individual? Do you work with the family? Do you, because you got to do the paranormal side too, so
Right.
it's kind of like, both sides. And so having the paranormal side, and like yourself, Lee, you're a police officer. So you're already looking at, other aspects of what's happening. And now you're going to put that psychological side involved with it. That's when it becomes well-rounded.
Definitely.
Do you think a person who is going to take on the challenge of being demolished has to be like on top of their game mentally? Like, I don't know how to say this. Like, Well, I guess the only way I can is like they can't be mentally weak. You think that's a
You
factor?
have to be both spiritually and mentally strong, because especially when you're working with negative entities, because they try to manipulate, and you have to be able to take on that. You know, it can manipulate you with something that might have happened to you as some kind of trauma way back in the day. You know, it can play on you, and you got to be able to, like I always say, you got to be very humble to it. If
Yes.
you're humble, then you actually are one step ahead of it.
Right.
You know, you can't go in gangbusters or anything like that. You know, you got to have that type of respect, because you don't know what you're dealing with. You know, and even with me seeing them, they change. I can see it one way. You know, somebody tells me, well, I think, you know, my mother or my father are with me. And I'll look and go, no, they're pretending to be your mother and father, but this is actually what you have. And it could have actually been a serial rapist,
Right.
and the true self is coming out. So, you know, then I have to start thinking a different way. How do you present this to that person? How do you get them to unwelcome what they just welcomed in?
Right.
And so, you know, I've had people tell me, yes, I want to get rid of all this. I need your help. But at the same time, I don't know if I really want it gone, because if there's some good ones, I want them here, because they don't know how to deal with the emptiness that's going to happen afterwards.
Right.
So it's not a one-stop shop. You can't just get in there, take something out. People don't realize you're still working with them months later, because now you're going to have to work with them to get them back into the state they were prior of being strong, both mentally and physically.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
Definitely. So go ahead, Lee.
I tip my hat to you. Thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you.
So we had a question earlier in the when we first started. We never got to answer it, and this is for everybody here right now in the live video. Um, so it's from Marvin Blizzard. He says, "Everyone, did you come into the field of paranormal activity from personal experiences?" So, if anybody from us who wants to answer, more than welcome to.
Mine was definitely personal experience.
So was mine. Yes, mine was personal. And basically mine was about I've had experiences before, but this was like the ultimate, I guess, ultimate experience for me. And that's what made me really get more into this. And that happened about a year and 1 month ago, actually. And that's what got me into this field. Like, I've always had an interest, but that just went, boom, blew my mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
I
For
think
me,
Candy, I think hers was personal.
Personal, because of my husband Derek being a medium as well. I was the skeptic, and he made a believer out of me.
nice. That's amazing. Yeah. For me, when I was a child back in the 80s, we had my mom was hosting a birthday party in our apartment complex, and our neighbor just asked, "Hey, can we have the birthday party in your apartment? We all had the same like matching apartments, but she wanted it in ours." And her son, who was alive at the time, he brought over the Ouija board, and my mom, my mom's, we're Hispanic people, so my mom has always been the person, like when you invite her to a party, she wants to go help cook, she wants to help clean up, whatever she can do to help, she wants to help. And my mom was cooking for the party, and they brought the Ouija board. My mom saw they were playing. She ran everybody out. Get the hell out of here! Everybody buy, send them with the birthday cake and everything. And from that day forward, we started experiencing things, and it's just one of those things that, what can you do? At that time, my family didn't want to help us. Nobody wanted to help us, so it was definitely a different time. And I wish that when we were going through these things, we had people like myself, like Michelle, like us who are here, who could have helped us, but we went through it alone. But through the grace of God, he guided us, man. And it was not an easy thing to experience, but that's what started my journey. And I'm so grateful for it. And let's see, we have another question from Tammy Petty. I'm gonna put the question up here so you can see it. It's for Candy and Michelle. She says, Candy and Michelle, which do you prefer using, your talents or equipment?
Go ahead, Candy. I'll let you start.
I don't have the talents, so I like the equipment, but you put using the equipment with Michelle's talents, it's the ultimate because you got Michelle seeing what's making the equipment work. So it's kind of, she's validating the equipment, but yet the equipment is validating her. And to watch that happen, it's priceless.
Right.
I gotta say, I like it too. I like both of them because I can see all the time, but doesn't mean everybody else that's with me can. And to have the equipment, kind of validate there is something there, definitely a big winner for me.
Right. Yeah, that's let me put here. Shout out to my good friend Shannon. Thank you for watching. So no, to add to that question, we had an investigation, and in my team we have people who have some amazing abilities, and it's so hard. It's so hard to put labels on these abilities because to me it's not like it's a cookie cutter thing where everybody has the same ability, everyone can see the same thing or whatever. And what we did was I told my team, listen, for those who have abilities, at this case, I want you guys to only use a pen and paper or a pen and a paper with the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you can use is your recorder and a camera to document your walkthrough, your session. And for those of us who don't claim to have abilities, we're going to be the ones to use equipment, and we're going to go in at different times. We'll let the people with abilities go first, see what you pick up on. Once you're done with your session, you come back out. Those of us who have to rely on devices, we go in next. And at the end of the investigation, we put both of them together to see what did we get anything different that, can we connect the dots together with what we found equally? And it's pretty cool. It's nice.
And we're pretty blessed. We made contact with Ghost Gear Tech. They are fabulous. Rob, he is custom designing equipment with our team that technology never before used. So
Correct.
Yeah, Rob, he actually called me not too long ago. He when he messaged me, I thought it was a scam message. I was like, I wasn't gonna respond to it. And I thought it was one of those scam emails, and I was like, oh hell man, who's this person? How did they get my information? But I talked to him, man. He was legit. We're talking about
Correct. Very
we're talking
legit.
about the devices. Yeah, we're talking about the devices, and he was name dropping, and you happen to be one of them, Michelle. And I was like, let me ask these people who he's name dropping. I want to see if this is real or not. And I asked somebody, and they're like, no, it's real, man. And so when I
Yeah.
talked to him on the phone, him and I guess some other gentleman, it was man, he was saying some really cool stuff about some stuff coming up. I was like, man, let's work together, man. I'm ready. So that's amazing. And so let me ask you this, Michelle, and even Candy, if you want to chime in on this. How do you protect yourself from when you let's say you go to a residential versus a historical location? Do you have different things you do for depending on the location, or is it you just have a general protection that you do for yourself?
I actually, before we go on any investigation or even when we do an event, I actually start putting a protection bubble around the whole team. See, they don't know it, but you guys do now. But I also do some extra protection for myself
Right.
because sometimes they come in hot and heavy and I can't stop them. But everybody kind of does their own thing. Everybody has their own kind of ritual they do. Some might use God's prayer. Some will do, different things that, resonates with them. And that's kind of what makes, Riverside, Iowa Paranormal different, because like Kenneth in California, he might have his own way of protecting himself. Tammy Petty, she's also part of RIP in California. She might do something different, but I do it kind of as a general to add extra protection around everybody so I know the team's safe. We also got not Candy, but Kelly, sorry. who is also, you know, a Reiki master, that sometimes when we have guests or someone, you know, that need help or ourselves, she's there to help us. So we kind of have a little bit of everything going on.
Right, right, definitely. And you know, people, yeah, I see people do different things, and you know, to each their own. You know, to me, I tell people, listen, when I first started, we start before we go into the location. I say a prayer for all of us. Since I'm the leader of my team, I always do like a, you know, just overall prayer for us. And you know, some people do extra stuff they want to do, but I'm like, listen, if anything you're gonna do to try to protect yourself, just as long as it's not here to add to the already existing things they're
Yeah.
experiencing, don't bring anything here that's bad. But you know, if you believe in a certain thing, I never push what I believe onto anybody else. I'm like, listen, hey, whatever you want to do to protect yourself, you do it. Just as long as you believe in it, and we're
Yes.
ready to rock and roll and take care of business. You know.
Yeah, and every time you go somewhere different, you might change up how you protect yourself depending on
Right.
what you're going to, you know, what you're walking into. So it does, you know, definitely change how you do it.
Right. And so what about have you, I mean, I know you're a demonologist, but have you already been called for any kind of demonic cases before?
Yes, I
And
have.
and how was the first time you're like, hey, that it was a legit thing? How did that go for you?
I'm going to tell you the truth. It scared the holy hell out of me.
Right.
It really did, because when you're looking at it, you're trying to figure out, okay, is this really something? You know, what is this? And when I was, you know, working with the one priest, and he was telling me what was going on, and I read the whole case file and things like that. Um, a lot of it was done over video because of COVID.
Right.
And, you know, trying to work with the family, trying to see things and watching this person's eyes roll back and everything else. My first instinct was, you know, and Lee might know this, you know, a drug overdose. It mimicked a drug overdose completely. But then this person started talking Hebrew, which really blew me away because I had to look it up to
Right.
see what language. And the stuff that was coming out, it scared me. But the way the priest was commanding it, he was not the right priest to do it, because found out the religion base of this person was not the same religion base. So what it was dealing with was not an actual your normal demon. It actually was something that had to do with voodoo. So it should have had like a high priestess or a high priest come in to help. And so it actually looked really bad. And I was really scared because I'm like, we didn't have the right combination. And that's one thing I do look at is, what is that religion based? What could it be? Because it doesn't matter what your religion base is or your faith, demons all across the board, but you got to have the right people to help you do those. And so you bring all the different people in.
Right.
Let me ask you this, Michelle. Has there ever been a case, as far as what has to do with demons, or any case in that fact, that you've looked at it and you're like, oh hell no, I can't do this? In other words, have you ever felt like it was too much for you to take on by yourself?
Yes, there was a case that actually we still are kind of working on it.
Okay.
What happened was another team went in and automatically told the lady that she was possessed and told the lady all these things. And then they pretended they did an exorcism and they left.
Wow.
And what was happening, it's actually something that's attached to the male. And it's almost like a succubus. And it's with him, but it, you know, it messes the whole different thing, you know what I mean? And we were looking at it, and we cannot help these people because she's not possessed. So yes, it was Hebrew language, but we found out it was a voodoo type of curse, and it was bringing other things in. It's a messed up
Wow.
case. It's still going on.
Right.
So a curse that came from voodoo, but then other things have also come into this home for this person. So it's an ongoing case that one of the priests are actually doing.
Right.
And I've kind of stepped back a little bit because of it, because it has so many different layers. So
Right.
yeah, it does sound really weird, but it is actually that weird.
Right. And one thing I want to share with people who are watching right now, and just whether you're an investigator of your solo or part of a team, whatever the case is, I want you to know right now, if there ever comes a time when you take on a case, and it doesn't have to be demonic in nature. I mean, if it's just a case where you feel like, you know what, it's just too much to handle, don't be afraid to look for help, and if, let's say, you don't want anything to do with the case, don't be afraid to pass the case on to somebody, but just make sure to give them all the information of what's going on so they don't go in blind. Here in San Antonio, a lot of teams come to us whenever they get a case they can't handle, like the one I mentioned about the police getting involved.
Yeah.
There was a team who said, Mike, look, we just can't do it. Can you please help? And we stepped up. But the thing is, there's going to come a time where it may be out of your, not so much out of your league, but it's just too much to handle. And never be afraid to say, hey, look, I'd rather pass it or get help, because if you just try to take it head on and you don't know what you're doing, all you're going to do is just hurt yourself and those individuals.
And that is this case with this priest, because I think it's become now a personal thing for him.
Right.
And because of the different layers that's happening, the things that were actually going on in this home, there was like conjuring stuff. There was different things like that going on. So they pretty much opened up a big portal of mess. And because he's now trying to, take it as a personal thing, I had to step back. And I mean, I still talk to him. We talk about it. I give him ideas. But
Right.
when I'm hearing different languages, then hear about a curse, and then this is going on, and then they're practicing other things, it's a part of where I can't do it. I'm not able to go in there, and it would actually affect me too.
Right. Definitely. Let me ask you this question. Whenever there's cases that have to do with children, like, how does that affect you when it comes to children?
It really affects me a lot, because children are very open.
Right.
And when children are talking about, we talk about negative energy or entities, or they mimic things that scare you the most. And when they're making themselves look like monsters, or, act like a monster to scare these children, back when I was a child, of seeing things.
Right.
So it does, scare me.
Right. I know that case I mentioned earlier where my sister saw the figure that came off as being this entity that had horns and stuff, and it really wasn't. When we first went for that case, when we were just doing the interview process, let me tell you something, right? When I was growing up, I'm the eldest of 7 siblings, right? So anytime we moved and we experienced stuff, my mom, we would turn to her like, hey, help us. But she didn't even know how to help us in that sense, because it was paranormal. Like, she didn't understand it herself. And when we're interviewing this single mother, let me tell you something, man. There's nothing more heartbreaking than when you see these. I saw her children, right? She had 2 small children, like 2 or 3 small children. She had an older teenager, and he had his girlfriend or whatever she was to him. And they're sitting there, and the smaller children, they had their heads down the whole time, right? Like, they weren't making eye contact with me. And I was like, and I was looking at them like, why are they doing that for? And all of a sudden, when they finally looked up like this, like, imagine seeing like the darkest bags under their eyes, man. Like, they weren't sleeping for days, And I saw that, man. And I tell people this: when you go to an investigation, I'm not a fear. Don't think that I'm this fearless person. Like, I'm this like Superman. Like, I'm not. But when it comes to emotions, I do my very best, because we're all humans. We all, when we feel sad, we cry. Like, when I saw that, I got emotional inside. I was like, oh my God, like, you want to cry, because it's you never want to see a child in that situation. But what really hit me the hardest is when she started telling me that this priest came over one day, and that he came in he had, she explained to him what was going on, and that this priest said, "Okay, I'm gonna do my, what I guess you want to say his method of cleansing or whatever." He goes into the apartment. It's 2 levels, and that he was up there reading his scriptures and doing his thing, and all of a sudden, the dog. She had these two chihuahuas, right? They ran down from being there with him. They were screaming, and they ran to the door like scratching to get outside. And all of a sudden, the kids, the mom or the lady, and the priest start hearing the sounds of kids mocking his scriptures. And
Oh,
the
wow.
and the first thing that he did was he stopped instantly and he booked it, man. He like flew down the stairs, and
Wow.
he didn't say, "Hey, you know what? I gotta go." He just took off and never came back. And I'm like, and nothing against the gentleman, because I didn't know him on a personal level, but this is not for everybody. This is a crazy, crazy field. But the good thing is, I believe that God puts people like ourselves in those individuals' paths for a reason, to help them with these situations. You know what I mean? And but to make the a long story short, seeing those kids with the bags under their eyes, man, that was the most, to me, it's horrible, man. It breaks my heart.
Well, and that's
Oh, he froze there for a second. Michelle froze. Michelle, come back. You froze. She froze, Candy.
Uh-oh.
She
the
just
thing too.
There, she's back.
I'm back.
Oh, yeah, you froze there for a little bit.
Well,
Sorry, we
and,
didn't hear nothing you
and
said.
here's one thing, we have to think about too, especially with children involved and how they see things. We have been told in the paranormal field, and also when I was learning, demonology and everything else, which I still am learning, that everything is supposed to be black and white, and it's not.
Right.
And the good thing is, and this brings up a great thing, because somebody had just mentioned on the comments about voodoo and Hebrew.
Right.
Well, again, it's not cookie cutter,
Right.
because of what was going on in the home. A whole bunch of different things were happening at one time, and the person that's affected was doing different things. And this is where it separates a lot of people who are really doing this for the right reasons, and the ones that think, oh well, I've always heard if it's a demon possession, they can only speak Latin, or
Right.
if it's voodoo, they're going to only speak a certain language, or act a certain way, or anything like that. That's not the paranormal field. That's
Right.
not going through demonology stuff. It does jump around, because again, you're dealing with things that are not human, and it jumps around to keep people messed up. So that's why it helps me, because I do go in there. I don't think just because you're saying you had a curse put on you that I'm going to just look at certain curses and know this is how it's supposed to look, because
Right.
that's not how it is. I
Right.
have to be prepared, and I have to be able to pivot to make sure that I am ready for whatever else comes around at me, and know
Right.
whether I stay in or I pull out. And that's one thing I always want to tell people in this field. You can read everything you want to read. You can Google everything you want to Google. But when you go in there, guess what? It's not going to be what you just read. You might
Yeah.
want to take the book part out and just keep some of the knowledge, and go in there with your instincts and start working on that, because it is not cookie cutter.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy the way you say that. Like what you just explained. It's kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing as a police officer, like a rookie police officer. When you're in the academy in a perfect world, you learn everything from point A to point Z. Okay. And when you get on the field and you're with your training officer, the first thing it's going to tell you is, forget what you learned in the academy. Remember all the knowledge you need, but this is going to be based off experiences and the calls we have and everything you learn to deal with. That's how
Yeah.
you become a training officer. It's the same principle in your field as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy
Yeah,
how
'cause
they're so
everybody-
like our field is
Yeah.
so similar.
They put you in a box, and they think you have to stay in that box. But when you're dealing with the paranormal, there is no box.
Right.
Because if that was the case, everybody would have this mastered. There is no real
Yeah.
professionals. There is no masters because we're constantly learning because you don't know what's going to happen. And you're going to run up on something and you're going to be like, oh, wait a minute. This is not what I remember, or I didn't learn about this. I had no clue.
I didn't learn this in the academy.
Yeah.
Right.
And I got to go back to find out what's going on, you know? So, yeah.
I've been there and done that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
So we
wing it.
right. So we have a question from actually one of my investigators,
Adam.
Adam. He says, Michelle, could you imagine yourself not doing this kind of work?
No. I've tried to think maybe I just need to get away from it. But when I start thinking about it, things come up and it pushes me deeper.
Right.
So I think I'm on the right path where I'm supposed to go.
Right.
I have wonderful people that are around me that are helping this, become what it is and still keep and be very humble about what we do. I am so excited because we're all one team. There's no egos. No one's better than anybody else.
Right.
And we all kind of help each other up. And with that kind of backing, I wouldn't, want to leave because I think we're doing the right thing.
Definitely. We also have a question from Tammy Petty again. She says, question for Candy and Michelle. And it says, would you prefer home investigations or historical locations or buildings?
I like them both because it keeps me on my toes, Yeah, I like both.
Me too.
Yeah, they're both very great. Here, we've always had more residential than anything else, but I love, there's nothing better to me than being able to go to this historical location. You walk in and just try to relive those moments of what occurred there. It's always really cool.
And we do events, and we love the events because I love bringing people in and doing the events with them because we're actually doing it with them. We're showing them, we're not disrespectful,
Right.
And what we do is because we do help a lot of people, we sell the tickets for the events. Half of that money goes to the historical place where we're having the event. So we're keeping them going. And the other half is the money that helps because we charge nobody for our service.
Right.
So the other money goes to help those people in need, and so we're giving back on both sides. We're all volunteers. We all have day jobs, so it's kind of like we're doing this because this is a calling for us.
Right.
And that's awesome.
And what do you say to people who think that by coming to the paranormal field, they're going to become like these millionaires, these superstars? You know what I mean? Like,
I have not met a paranormal investigator that's super rich.
right.
That doesn't have to do a lot of paracons and shake hands and sell books.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right.
But that's why we do the events because that's what keeps us going to be able to help, the families that call us.
Right.
And that's how we made it. We're not going to charge them, but we also, we're not rich. So we have to make sure. But, you think about a lot of these historical buildings, we don't want them to go anywhere either,
Right.
So we're helping everyone. And
Right.
that's where Candy comes in because she knows about all the events. Because we'd love
Right.
to see some of these people at them.
Oh,
Right.
definitely. Yeah, we actually kick off our 2021 season February 27th at historic McDonald Airbnb.
Yeah.
They have rooms available for that one. So if you don't want to leave the location after the hunt, when that ends at 3 a.m., you can crash there. And we've got Grand Opera House in Dubuque, the Renwick in Davenport, the McIntyre Villa, Atchison, Kansas. A big one we have coming up on March 20th is our psychic paranormal at the festival. We're going to have all sorts of vendors there. They can learn about crystals, learn about the equipment we use. Actually, Rob with Ghost Gear Tech is going to be there.
Nice.
We have different paranormal teams coming in that we're going to be doing live interviews throughout the day with them. Michelle and a few of the other psychics are going to be doing past life readings. Help me, Michelle.
We'll have Reiki there. We'll have regular tarot readers and things like that too.
That's always fun. And like going back to what you said about the B&B thing, that's always a plus, man. We go to the investigations and then having to drive home in the middle of the night, you're like trying to keep one eye open as you're driving. So yeah, it's always great to have a place you can crash at.
And if you want tickets to any of these events, I'll post the link here in a second, but go to Thriller Events. It's thriller.events. They are a one-stop shop now. You can get all your paranormal tickets there. You have stores in there. You can get your paranormal gear to go to your events. Definitely check that out and try to join us.
And like she said, the good thing is, for just like you guys, if you're doing an event, Mike, it's free for you to get put on Thriller Events,
Right.
and all the ticket sales, they do all the work for you.
Nice. That's amazing.
And it's free for you guys to do it, and the money comes directly to you.
Right.
So, then all you have to worry about is you get a list of all the people coming, and you can also, see all that kind of stuff of who's all coming, how many people. I mean, it gives you the whole listing, everything you need.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. What's up, Beth? Thank you so much for watching, and love you too, my sister from another mister. And so what do you tell people who are new to the field who say, you know what, Michelle, I want to become a paranormal investigator? What advice would you give to that new person just fresh into the scene? What advice would you give them?
I gotta say, when I actually talk to those people, I have them actually come to one of our events for free. And I have them go with us and look at, when you put all these different energies together, and to be able to see, you have all these people at this event, and you put their energy and the energy of the place, things going to happen. And then this person is really going to be able to tell, is this something I can actually do? Because when you take them to a private, you don't know what's going to happen there. And so if you go to, a historical place that is considered haunted, you can see how can they navigate through everything going. Is it from the people that are there? Is it actually, something paranormal? And you can kind of tell, and they can tell, is this something they want to further get into?
Right.
And then we'll go to the next step going from there.
Definitely. And one thing I'll tell people myself is, whatever your vision is or your intent, stick with it, because I nothing against people in the field, but I've seen many people who they'll claim, I'm here to help people, I'm here for this or for that, and then when they get caught out, like, hey, I need the help, they start backtracking. So if you say you're going to do something, please stick to it, man. Don't it's all you have is your integrity, so that's what I would say.
Well, and it's true, because we just don't do thing as Riverside Iowa Paranormal. We also represent the foundation, so it's kind of one of those that integrity and all that is a big thing. So many people have said, well, I've had someone here that wants to help, or they actually ended up having to pay to have these people.
Right.
and then they get nothing done, and that gives a bad name to all of us.
Right.
So, we go through all those steps.
We lost her again.
She froze up. I think it's maybe the weather. Michelle, come back to us, Michelle.
Is the weather bad over there where y'all are at?
It's supposed to be getting bad. I know.
I want to make sure.
But I'm 2 hours away from her.
You froze up, Michelle, for a bit there. Sorry, we didn't hear you.
No, I was just making the comment that, we're very straightforward with our clients.
Right.
I am not going to, actually tell you if you don't have something and you're self-manifesting because you're having your own personal issues. I'm going to tell you straight to your face, that's what it is. You might get mad at me, but at least I know when I walk out that door, I didn't, try to sell you snake oil.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I've seen some people, man. I've seen some people in this field, like, for example, not to call anybody out, it is what it is, but there's a local place here in town. And there was a gentleman who set up an event, and he charged people all this money, and then didn't come through with the investigation. Please, if you come into the field, don't be like that, man. Because I'm telling you, my mom always told me as a kid, never burn bridges because you never know when you're gonna need to cross that bridge.
Yep.
So please, man, for those who are new to the field or even seasoned or whatever you are in this field, don't do that, man. Because karma, man. Ooh,
Because if there's a
Karma's
zombie apocalypse, I want to be able to run across a bridge.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
And
Definitely.
don't forget your bag of guns.
Oh, yeah. Guns for sure.
I got mine ready.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so, I was gonna ask you a question, and now I got interrupted. Sorry, it left my mind. What was I gonna ask you? I was gonna ask you a question, and they're asking something over here. Um, I was gonna ask you a question, man. It left my mind. I'm sorry.
I got one. I got one real quick. Has there ever been a time where you felt like, man, I don't enjoy this anymore?
Yes, I have.
Because I can honestly say, like, for me as a police officer, there's been a time where I'm like, I just don't feel it no more. Because
Yeah.
after all the bad stuff I've seen and dealt with, it's like, but at the end of the day, I'm like, nope, this is what God made me to do, so I'm not giving up. I took an oath to serve, and I'm going to do it today. Can't do it no more. You know?
There was a time, there was some struggles, I started feeling like I did when I was a child. Feeling like, oh my God, what I do, everybody was trying. They were making me, I was almost feeling bad because of what I was doing, what I was seeing, how I was doing it, that I was just going to be done with it. Cause I'm like, I'm going backwards, now I got to be worried about, I don't want to I don't want to be better than somebody else. And it was really messing with me. It was messing with me bad that I got to the point I was just going to shut everything and just say, I'm done. I wash my hands of this. And all of a sudden, my guides came to me and pretty much told me, you can't. You're doing this for a reason. And I had to, and I'm still struggle a little bit. And I'm going to be very honest, I'm afraid that when my abilities get, they keep getting a little stronger, they're starting to change some. And I'm afraid to talk about them because I feel like if I do, oh my God, are they going to feel like they can't be around me? Is this too much? So I get those feelings a lot. And I talk to myself a lot about it,
Right.
and luckily I have a spiritual guide that I can go talk to and things like that because it does mess with me because I'm afraid to really say anything, because I always feel like I'm excited for everything, but I feel like when I'm excited, I think I'm getting judged,
Right.
and that's hard.
We got a question for you, Michelle, from Eli Sanchez. Says, Michelle, what's been your scariest experience?
Scariest experience. Let me think here.
And thank you, Eli, for that question.
My scariest experience was actually we were at MSP, Missouri State Pen. Well, there was two. One of our teammates, Kelly, I'm going to call her out, didn't, I guess, protect herself that night or had herself too open or whatever. And we're down in, it was death row psych area. And she was standing there, and all of a sudden, I literally watched her face kind of change and her eyes change, and she was talking in a language, in not her voice. And I just happened to look to see what was happening to her, and it was like, Kelly, hello, kind of one of those. And that really scared me because I felt like I messed up somewhere because that shouldn't have happened to her. And even though it wasn't her fault or my fault, that was the first thing. But it scared me that the whole night I was afraid to really open up because I didn't know who was going to end up getting hurt. And she's fine, and she was able to take care of it, but you start questioning yourself, because you automatically think you're supposed to protect everyone. And when I see something that happens to a team member, it actually cuts me to a core because I would rather it happen to me than them. So when somebody gets jumped, it scares the holy bejesus out of me.
Definitely. That's interesting. And I think for me, one of my, I don't want to say scariest, but it's been one that really made me question, should I be doing this? My mom, for those who don't know my mom, my mom and I, we went through so much back, in the 80s, and things that we experienced that had to do with the Ouija board. But fast forward to 2009, she was living in the west side of San Antonio, and she called me many times, Mike, I hear children in my kitchen at night. And I was like, Mom, you have neighbors, there's kids in the neighborhood, and I just, I not that I didn't want to go, I was so busy with work. And so finally one evening, I was off from work. I said, I'm gonna go. And it was maybe 5 or 6 p.m. And I show up, and for those who are watching, I'm gonna try to paint a picture for you. Imagine pulling up to a duplex. I mean, this thing is very old house, and there's 2 doors in front of the building, in front of the house, that separate the 2 places. And the steps you had to walk up, it was like maybe like 4 or 5 steps. It was a really high porch. And when I got there, I was with 2 people who were with me, and I knocked. And for those who are watching, who are tuning in, the screen door from her part of the duplex, the screen door was locked, but the door itself was open. So I can partially see into the screen. And I said, Mom, I'm here, Mom. I'm knocking the door. Mom, open the door. And the 3 of us heard, hold on, hold on. I'm getting my shoes. Don't leave. Just give me a second. I turn my back to the door. I'm waiting for her to open the door for her to come. The neighbor, I noticed he had this privacy fence. It was like a sheet metal privacy fence. And on the porch, it was high enough so I could see over the fence. And the gentleman, he had like car parts everywhere. And so my eyes were following the fence all the way till it met where the sidewalk was at near the street. And when I looked towards the street, who comes walking around the corner? My mom. Hey, what are you doing here? I'm calling to your phone and you weren't answering. And I'm like, what? I'm like, and I'm like, wait. And she walks up and she's like, I've been calling to your phone, but you weren't answering. I'm like, wait. I was like, how did you go from being in your house just now when I asked you to open the door to coming from the opposite side of your house, opposite side? And she says, no, I've been at the corner store this whole time trying to use the phone to call you, but you wouldn't answer. And I'm like, wait a second. And I said, come here. So she walks up to the steps and stands next to me. And I said, Mom, I knock on the door. Mom, are you almost coming to the door? And my mom hears her own voice say, I said I'm coming. Give me a moment. I'm getting my shoes. And this is like 5 or 6 p.m. and going to the evening. And she's right next to me. And the first thing she does, she shouts, oh my God, I told you something's in my house and you didn't want to believe me. I'm like, and I was just stunned. I was stunned because you can go to so many investigations and never have an experience like that. And that just kind of shook me to my core, like, oh my God, this thing is, number one, intelligent. It's mimicking my mom's voice. And so that I was like, man, should I really be doing this? And of course I'm still doing it. But yeah, there's been some scary moments, but the one thing you want to do, I'm gonna tell this to any investigator. I know none of us are, we're not fearless, but if there's ever a moment where you question yourself, should I really be doing this? The one thing that I just advise I give to people is at that moment, no matter how scared you are, remind yourself why you got into the field. What was the reason that brought you into the field? And for me, it was I never wanted anybody to feel the way I felt, helpless. And so I wanted to give back and make people, not that, I mean, to me, I don't bring peace into anyone's home. That's God's doing. That's above me. It's above my pay grade. But I want
Yeah.
people to know that I'm here to help them, So I reminded myself, and not that I'm fearless, but it became more of wanting to understand why these things happen. And so slowly that fear kind of took backseat to everything. So, yeah, no, it was a
Well,
crazy.
and that is important.
Yes, I try to put the fear on the back burner, but I'm not afraid of people with guns, people with knives, but the littlest things scare me. It's crazy. I feel like a wimp sometimes. You
But I
know?
think if we weren't scared or we didn't have some type of fear, we shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't, you're dealing with something that you don't know what you're dealing with. That's what
Right.
makes, and
Like,
when you have all these different imprinted emotions, like if you're doing a prison or you're doing a certain hospital, you're dealing with different types of emotions too that were imprinted in these places. They can become dangerous because
yeah,
after a while these things start manifesting themselves into something, and you have to be on your game,
Right.
or it happens. I've seen it happen many times, and it's kind of one of those, if you're not scared, then I don't want you on the team
Right.
because they're going to be dangerous to me. So,
Definitely.
get someone hurt, maybe even killed. That's how it is in the police world. Any law enforcement world,
yeah,
it's like that. Corrections, security, policing, it's all the same. The same mentality you need to have.
yeah.
It's crazy. The little things scare me. Like, I could be walking to the living room, my girlfriend will jump out, and I'm like, That's how it is to scare me. It's crazy.
And so, what is Michelle? What is like the ultimate goal that you want to try to accomplish, or thing you want to achieve by being in the paranormal? Like, once everything's said and done, and it's that time comes where it's time to hang up the hat. Hopefully not anytime soon, but when that moment comes, what are you hoping to achieve?
I want to be able to achieve the educational piece. I want people to look at the paranormal outside the paranormal. There are so many different things that come in the category of, paranormal because it's the unexplained.
Right.
I want people to realize that themselves can manifest their own entity, which is like a shadow. And to be able to get rid of that, it's not going to be just me coming in or my team or the team coming in or a cleansing. They're actually going to have to help take care of themselves to get rid of it. And again, letting people know, yes, it's great to read on things and educate yourself on things, but you also got to think outside that box because you're not going to help someone if you stay closed up and only think, that tunnel vision. Don't do the
Right.
tunnel vision. So education is really important because I've seen so many.
Oh, she froze.
Oh, no.
Michelle, you froze, Michelle. It's like right when she's gonna say something really amazing. It's
Yeah.
like it just freezes, man.
Hey, man, it's the devil, bro. She's trying to educate people. It's not letting her.
Am I back?
Yeah,
You're back.
you froze,
Yeah.
but we didn't
Now
hear
you
nothing
are.
you said. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying mine is the education. I want people to
Right.
know there's more to the paranormal than what we read or see on TV.
Right.
Educate yourself enough to have some of the knowledge, but also to go outside that box to learn more. Because I think this way you're going to be able to help people in need a lot more if you are open that way.
Right.
Let-
Definitely.
I got a question for all three of y'all because I know you'll probably all have more experience in paranormal than I do. Okay, this is for all three of y'all. Do y'all think that we will ever be able to fully understand the paranormal?
No,
I mean, it would be
I
nice,
think
but I feel like you can go a whole lifetime and barely scratch the surface. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yeah, because you think about it, a lot of people who have, different types of hauntings in their home has nothing to do with their home because it's not the structure. It could be the land. And look
Right.
how long the land has been around. Look at all the blood and devastation that has, absorbed in the grounds and the trees and what it can manifest. So, I believe that you're never going to get the full picture of you're going to understand some of it and you'll be able to navigate, but I don't think you'll ever get the full answers you're looking for.
yes, ma'am.
I think we'd be bored if we did.
Yeah,
Right.
like, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Lee.
It's crazy because like where I live, it's an older house. I've been here all my life. I'm 41 years old. We moved. I was born October 23rd, 1979. We moved. My parents moved here in April of 1980. Okay. I grew up in this house. I really never had anything paranormal happen to me growing up. I mean, there's times where I'd be walking down the hallway and like I see something walk out of the restroom, but I was like, I played it off. A year ago, my mother passed, and that's when the paranormal started happening like severe. Like every day I come home and my girlfriend like, this is what happened. Like one day I came home and I'm like, I look at the couch and I'm like, why is my shotgun by the couch? She's like, I swear to you, it sounded like someone kept walking inside the house to the front door because we have a little bell on the door. And when you open it, ding, 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 she kept hearing it and going over there. There was nothing there. So she said, you know what? I got scared and I sat here and I felt comfortable with the shotgun next to me. I was like, wow, that's crazy. You know, there's been times where the restroom door, uh, well, I've actually experienced it. I got out, I was getting dressed, and I hear the knob. I physically see the knob turn, and I'm like, the door pops open. You know, I'm like, what the heck? You know, like our pantry door. You close it and you can't pull it open. There's been times where I walked by it, she's walked by it, opens up by itself. You know, the thing that, I mean, that really didn't scare me. The thing that actually scared me is one night I was asleep. I was laying down on my bed and I was looking at my phone. This is a couple days after we, I guess, had mom's rosary and her funeral. We had the ceremony. It was a Tuesday. I remember I was sitting on my bed. Of course, I was sad. I had my puppy and my cat up there with me. All of a sudden, you hear this left side of the bed because I'm laying like with my head this way. On this side, I hear like scratching on the floor. And I'm like, what the heck? And I know it's real because my animals are reacting to it. So to my right side, against the wall, as all my police boots are lined up, and my door would open up to the inside of the bedroom. So out of my peripheral vision, I saw the boot, one of my boots lift up and slam into my door and try to shut it. And I'm like, what the heck? You know, one time I was in the living room sitting down by myself and I saw this white mist like stuff come down into the den where I'm at. I'm looking like, is this really happening to me? You know, it's little things like that. So I was wondering if that's always been here, maybe, or is it because of the traumatic experience that we all experienced because of the death of our mother? You know?
Yeah. Well, and one thing I'm going to say, I'm going to answer Kenneth's question, but with Lee, I have noticed with the paranormal and just kind of follow me, but like police officers, doctors, nurses, people who deal in a lot of military folks, especially people who have, been in battles and stuff like that, or the emotions that imprint on you guys absorb it like sponges and you don't realize you're doing it. So what's happening with having all of that, you guys actually start becoming that little bit of a lighthouse for things to be drawn. And I tell a lot of them, especially like with you being a police officer, after you get home, you should always, do your shower, rinse all that off you, because as it does, it can start doing some of its own little manifestation in your own home. So if your home ever had a little bit of stuff going on, it can start growing because of the stuff that you're dealing with every single day. And I've noticed that with a lot of folks when they're, seems like a certain group. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen to everyone, but certain groups, when you're dealing with people all the time, we take it in as people, we're like sponges. We take it all in and take it in. And if you don't start washing that away, it starts dropping down, and it starts becoming things. And it starts feeding off each other. So
right.
That is one thing I do talk a lot about. And for like Kenneth, for his question, I'm very real with people. And I say it in a polite way. but you do have a lot of people that are so consumed with the paranormal. We've had a lot of intakes that we've talked to people, and Kenneth is my witness. When we start asking, do you dabble with things? Are you in the paranormal? They talk about, I watch the shows all the time. I'm really into this. And they get sold that everything they think is paranormal. And we have to be, and I'm pretty straightforward, like, nope, you got nothing there. You might want to check A, B, and C. But you could be saying that to your blue in the face. But I used to try to sugarcoat things, and I noticed sugarcoating is not a good thing, because if you give them just a little bit extra and don't say something, that's when we talk about self-manifestation. They start making their own entities, and they start giving it energy and making it something. And so we pretty much have to be straightforward. So
Right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle,
thank you.
for coming on the show. Let me tell you something. I can sit here and talk about this till you're blue in the ears, man. I love this conversation. We definitely got to bring you back again. But if people want to find you, I know we've been posting all night, but if people want to find you, how can they find you again?
Candy, tell them where they can find us.
Well, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Just search for Riverside, Iowa Paranormal, or go to our Facebook page or our website, riversideiowa.paranormal.org. We have links to all of it on there.
Awesome.
And go and show some love to Riverside, Iowa Paranormal California chapter on Facebook. So whatever we miss on ours, Kenneth keeps it going on that one. So
Awesome. And so for all those who are watching right now, I mean, whether you're a paranormal investigator, whether you're in a team or solo, anybody who has a story you want to share, if you want to come onto the show, all you got to do is send us a message directly to the page, and we'll definitely have you on. I mean, we're all about bringing awareness of the paranormal. And the only way we're going to do this is by speaking up and sharing our experiences. And like you mentioned earlier, the knowledge, whatever knowledge you have, you're not doing justice by keeping it all to yourself. Because one day you're not going to be here. We're not going to be here forever. So the best thing is, while you have the chance, share that knowledge. So if you want to come on here and drop some knowledge or some experiences, please don't hesitate to message us. And again, this is an amazing show. I mean, I've been sitting here and I've just been absorbing all of this information, and I definitely love it. So thank you, Michelle. It's definitely been a pleasure. And thank you, Candy. And for all the new people who have been watching, please, if you want to become a Midnight Watcher, all you got to do is click like, follow, and be a part of our MPS family. So thank you all for watching. I hope that you all have a blessed, wonderful evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you're watching from. God bless you all, and we'll see you on the next video.
Thank you.